This is a story about our non-traditional real estate dealings and how we came about both of our farms.
Yep, and by non-traditional, we mean just a little bit different how we came about properties. If you want to see it, stay tuned.
So it's not like we were looking on Zillow and
Okay. So the reason that he said these are non-traditional real estate dealings is because we came across our previous property in a unique way, and we came across this property in a unique way. And for this property that we just moved to, this new farm, we weren't actually even looking to move. We were happy, we were content where we were at our old farm, and we had plans to expand it and to make it better, but there were a couple things that we didn't really like there. So we're going to talk all about it in this video. In this video, you're also going to notice I'm going to clip back and forth between recording here in our new hoop house that we're really excited about. It was a motivator to buy this new property. And our old property, we also recorded a little something there, but the audio wasn't working the whole time, so we had to re-record. So this is our second recording of telling this story.
we kind of thought this might be an interesting video for other people looking to buy a farm or get into small farming. Because of high real estate prices, this might be a good way to look for a farm or property, because looking on Zillow or competing with other people might not be the best way to get a good deal and get the place that you want.
Yeah, get the place that you want for what you want to do. I'll start at the beginning. So we first lived in a house that was on an acre lot, and that was our first house that we owned. And at that point, I didn't even want a garden. I didn't want chickens. I didn't want any of it. Grew up with chickens. I kind of thought they were gross at the time because of the way we kept them was really why. Wasn't really into growing a garden. I like produce, but wasn't really into it. Anyways, that's kind of where the fire was lit when we started doing all of that our own way at that property. And when we saw how easy it was to grow in that particular soil at that particular house, it's like a light bulb went off that we want to do this more and more. So at that point, we started looking for a house that was kind of more so a farm, and it took us a while to adopt that term farm because we never thought of ourselves as farmers.
We realized, okay, we like growing produce and we want to grow more produce and we want to have chickens and do like the whole thing. And then we finally realized that means we want a farm. Like that term was kind of hard to come by for some reason. I don't know, kind of like wrapping our heads around that was kind of just different for us. And once we realized, okay, we want, like a farm, then we set out to find a property that was a little bit bigger or as much bigger as we could do, or way bigger, I guess.
We started selling produce at that first house on an acre, and I mean, if that's what you can afford and that's what you got, you can definitely make a nice little business on an acre if you have decent ground.
And when we say we started selling, it was minimal.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of just like, I have a giant box of tomatoes. Who wants to make salsa? Okay, can I have $20? Like, we weren't.
There's no planning involved at all. It was just like what we wanted to do. We grew what we wanted, and then we'd sell the excess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of what got us into it. And it was like we could grow these giant, gorgeous, beautiful tomatoes. And then we started getting into other things that we were growing too. And we're like, this is really cool. And it's feeding us. And it's providing a little bit of income to at least cover some of that seed cost. And we want to continue with this. So how many years ago was that? That was like 8 or 9, 10 years ago?
Over 10 years ago, we were in that first house. And then we stayed in it for 6 years.
And during that 6 years, about the last 3 years or so, we were actively searching for a property with more land that would be in a good area for growing stuff in our town. So there's different, ground, soil qualities everywhere.
Especially here in the Mountain West. Yeah. You get out of the valleys, you get up into the mountains, and you're really close to the bedrock and rocky soil. So we wanted to stay out of that.
Yep, and we wanted to be low in the valley. We wanted to have water, enough water, the right kind of water rights. We had a lot of boxes to check as far as the farming stuff. So, and of course, I wanted a house that would be 3 bed, 2 bath, something that we could make into a nice family home. And so we started looking, and we looked for 3 years. And there were a lot of houses that we went and looked at, and we drove over to the area. And we knew it was in an area that didn't have the best growing ground, and we would drive over to it and we would look at it and we go, yeah, we can't do what we want to do there. We need to just put that area of town out, cross it out on a map. We're not even going to look there, and we know where we want to look. So Anyways, after a lot of just looking and deciding, no, it's not worth it to do that because we can't grow what we want to grow there, we came across an ad on Facebook Marketplace for an estate sale. And I'm describing our previous home right now, the one that we just moved from.
And the estate sale ad was kind of funny. It said things like, if you buy the house, you get all the stuff in it for free, because they were alluding to the fact that there was just a lot of stuff.
And we looked at the property at that point and thought, let's just go to the estate sale just to see if that might be the right kind of property. So I messaged the gal and she said, oh yeah, there's outbuildings, there's this, there's that. Come to find out it was an old sod farm. So we're like, oh, they used to grow stuff there. Okay. Told us there was a couple wells, a lot of stuff that sounded pretty intriguing.
We ended up going to that estate sale and touring, just walking through the house, like literally 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really quick. We had our daughter in her little infant car seat and we walked through the property and just kind of like peeked in all the rooms. We did tell the person, yeah, we are looking to maybe buy. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll show you the basement. And it was a cold, windy day. And we just peeked around for probably just 10 minutes. And we left and we thought, we think we can do what we want to do with that property. So we reached out to a coworker of mine who was also a realtor and said, can you help us put an offer in on this place? Because we knew they were already planning on using a realtor at that point. So we wrote a letter and put an offer in, and they started negotiating with us. So that's how we came upon this place, place before it even hit the market. And at that point, when we walked through that estate sale, it was like 1970.
Rough.
It was a little dirty. So we had a ton of work ahead of us, but we wanted to do that. And that's part of the reason we were able to afford this house in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple years down the road, we ended up turning it into what you see before you. And some jobs still aren't quite done because we were not anticipating leaving this place. We were setting this place up for long term, to stay here, to have like a food storage area, to have a big garden area, like different garden spaces, to have a cornfield, to have like a perennial patch here of this, or, you know, an orchard and a big chicken yard and like a horse corral area, a woodshed area. Like we had all the different outbuildings, all the different places and nooks and crannies for all the different farming things getting lined up.
We did end up living in that house, loving that house. We're happy there.
We bought it in 2019 before real estate prices really exploded.
Mm-hmm. And it was a fixer-upper, definitely. And we put a ton of work into it, which we'll show you later in this video. Kind of some before and afters. We touched every area of the upstairs of that house, and we were getting on the downstairs whenever this property came into sight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were happy with the house, planning on spending 20 years there and really doing pretty well there. But the ground still didn't have very much topsoil in that part of the valley. It's pretty close to the gravel substrate.
So after all of that, we were a little frustrated with portions of the property, and also the view wasn't great across the way, but we had plenty of land between us and what the view was, so it was okay. We were on a busy side street here. We didn't really love that.
So we knew that this part of the valley was always where we wanted to end up, and
where we are now.
But we weren't. I was not looking. Jory was not looking. We weren't planning on moving. But I was at a market event selling veggies last fall. A couple came up to me that I knew I'd met before, and I knew that they had this hoop house there, and mentioned to them if they ever wanted to sell their hoop house, that I'd probably buy it from them. And the guy said, well, heck, if you want the hoop house, you can just buy the farm. We're thinking about moving. And it's like, well, shoot. I don't really want to move, didn't want to move.
No, we just finished 3 years of massively renovating the inside of our house, had done a ton of work outside, which we honestly didn't really see a profit from because the new buyers aren't really interested in that kind of stuff, the farming stuff. And he found out that a property in what we had been always referred to as the dream area, that's what we call this area of the valley, the dream area. Like if we could ever get over there, it'd be amazing. It was available.
There's a lot less properties. It's more bigger hay fields and bigger ag operations. There's more topsoil. There's very little rock. There's more water. It checks all the boxes, basically.
All the boxes.
That was the big push, which it sounds kind of crazy. Like we moved because of rocks. We did.
So when they came over and they talked to me about possibly buying their farm, I was honestly contemplating just not even telling Joe Ray because I didn't know if I wanted to go through the headache of trying to sell our house, and the process of moving and everything getting over here. So,
And the other property, we had so set up for all the things. We had it all figured out. We had 4 bedrooms over there. We only have 3 here. We had just renovated the house. Like, there was so much that it was just like, oh no. Do we really want to do that right now?
So I came home and decided that it's too good to pass up, and we should probably play it out and see what happens.
Yeah.
And told Jory about it, and we met up, called the old owners of this place and met up with them, came over and talked with them, and we offered them a price and thought it was reasonable. They thought it was reasonable, and we moved ahead with it.
And then we got our property on the market.
And we got an offer like 5 days later. It was really nice. And that offer has went through, and this house is not even ours. It hasn't been ours for 2 weeks. They let us stay here until the other place opened up.
So those renos helped for sure. So this whole experience kind of helped us learn that when we were at that first property, our first home, and we wanted to go all the way to a big farm, or, you know, big in our standards. This is like 14 acres here. So big enough to do what we want to do as far as growing produce. We wanted to go from the acre to the 14 acre and still have a decent house on it.
And not have a huge mortgage
of course.
And not be stretched financially.
Yeah. And be able to, you know, live modestly like we do. Going from here to here in this real estate market was not doable. We couldn't have done it. If we would have never bought that in-between house, we would have not been able to buy the current house that we're in. There's no way.
Yep.
So buying that house, even though at the time we didn't see it as a stepping stone, it was a stepping stone because we could put like sweat equity into it and make it a lot nicer than where it started out. And then the real estate market took off.
Yep. That helped. Yep.
That helped. And then, so it made this place possible, which we're really excited about this place.
Yeah. One thing I was also thinking about is all the other houses we looked at in the meantime before we bought that old estate sale house was there was a lot of houses we looked at that were further out of town, had sub-quality soil, stuff we weren't looking for. And I'm glad we didn't end up there because the house we just sold was 3 miles from Costco from town, basically. So super convenient, and it had almost 10 acres. And so, like, you know, that's what people are going to be looking for. And I'm glad we went with the one we did because it's easy to sell. If I think we would have bought a place further out of town just to, you know, finally get a little bit of property and get a little bit of elbow room like we wanted, we might have been regretting it further down the road, and wouldn't have been able to sell it to come here as easily. So
yeah, that's definitely a good point and something that we didn't consider at the time, but it mattered.
Yep.
Yeah.
2 things that I wanted to mention if you're trying to get a bigger farm or a bigger property in this market. The 2 big takeaways that I think we had from our experience is don't settle and buy a property just to buy a property, because, you know, you might regret it long term. Might not be able to sell it as easily. And it may also be worth your time to deal direct with people, because then you're not competing with the open market and getting realtors involved and all that stuff, which seemed to really help us in our process.
Yeah, it was definitely 2 very unique ways of coming about property, and it was pretty cool. Like we bought our last 2 houses and they weren't even on the market.
So don't be afraid to talk to people. If someone has if you know someone that has a property that you're really into, you know, tell them that you like it. Tell them that you'd be interested in buying it someday. You know, people will take that as a compliment, even if they're not planning on moving.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I am going to clip in a couple clips from walking through the house that I was able to salvage from our first recording when we were still there on our last day, kind of sitting there, empty house, and reminiscing about how we got to the point where you're at right now. So that's coming up a little bit later in the video.
It is super foggy out today. I would like to show you some of the outside just so you can see what we're talking about with the road and all of that, but I think I might have to try to add that in later if possible. But I'm going to show you just how foggy it is, and we'll show you around the house. So the house really didn't look like this when we moved in. The feature that we really liked were these huge ceilings up here and this big fireplace. But otherwise, we had paneling on the walls, like the fake wood 70s paneling. We had big curtains that, I don't even know, they were like movie theater curtains is what we called them, on the windows, which I'll show you the windows. And this kitchen was totally different. After a lot of scrubbing, I couldn't quite get, you know, the layers of cooking off of it. So we went and remodeled the kitchen, and this is what we did. We love this kitchen. It has been so nice, like undermount sink, all sorts of things that I never thought I would really have in a kitchen. And now I'm going to miss it at the next house, but we'll be doing some work over there too. So over this way, we did also the windows over here. If you want to look at the windows, These are some new blinds that we put in, and you know, that's pricey. New trim on the floor and all the windows and the doorways. That matches, and it's kind of like the style that we like. So I know it's not like super modern or anything, but it's kind of what we like. Over here, we put in a Kuma Cascade wood stove, and we really like this. We had a Kuma wood stove at our old house. We actually are putting a video out about our Kuma Cascade wood stove if you want to check it out to learn more about it. It's been an awesome wood stove, and we're gonna miss it so much. So that was a fun project. I know I have pictures of that install. Over here, this is a little broom closet we put in. It didn't have a broom closet or a linen closet, so we put this in. It's in the back of the stairwell. It was an awesome use of space. I wish we could have enjoyed this more because it was new last winter, but the new homeowners are going to enjoy it. So we're inside of the smallest bedroom right now. These are all small bedrooms, but they've been completely remodeled. When we moved in, this had blue carpet that kind of reminded me of a movie theater. We had a wallpaper, just a lot of cosmetic things in the closet. The rod was broken and falling. We decided to go with a high rod and then maybe add a second one later. But this is what we did in here. So new carpet in all the bedrooms. Here's the next bedroom. Still kind of a small bedroom, but we put a giant closet in this one, which I'm going to miss this. This was really nice for, it was my daughter's room for toys and stuff. All of the floors were also blue carpet when we moved in, so we put this luxury vinyl flooring, I think is what it was called, throughout, and it's been pretty awesome. This bathroom is another area that we completely redid. We left the footprint of the original bathroom, but we completely redid it otherwise, and it's been really nice to have that done. This is the third bedroom, the one with the little ensuite on it. We fixed up the closet. I don't know if you can see up in there, it's kind of dark, but it has two rails, an upper and a lower, and a lot of space for kind of a small closet space is what we were able to do. That was all new, as well as renovating this bathroom over here. I have a picture of my husband standing in this shower, and he couldn't quite stand up before, but now he can definitely take a shower in here. And the flooring's new, and all the bedroom, and all the whole house. The whole house has been touched, and it was really fun to get it to this point. Now we are going down into the basement. Here's the back of that broom closet that we put in. An awesome use of space. It was completely wasted before, and it's still a good height for tall people. We are down in the basement now. This is the area that did not get finished. Here's another wood stove that we have. I believe this one is a New Englander. This is not built nearly as well, or doesn't perform as well for us as the stove we have upstairs. But we do have a fire in here when we have really cold nights, like 40 below, and we want this space heated. Or if we're having someone stay down here and we want it to feel a little bit more cozy, we put this on. But anyways, that was an addition that we made. Laundry room over here, we didn't really do anything. You can see everything's gone. We did put a new furnace in though, so we have that for backup. And that was not cheap. As well as a new central air system for the summertime, and that was not cheap either. So it's like we were setting this place up to be really awesome, and now we're moving. Over here, this was gonna be a storage area for probably our various produce because it's pretty chilly down here, and this is a really nice temperature to keep things at when we're not having someone stay in this bedroom. And this was the bedroom that we put in with a pocket door and all. I always wanted a pocket door. And it's not done. We had new windows, we have closet doors, we did all the drywall, not painted. It's like right at the point where it could have been a really nice additional space to have a fourth bedroom in this house. And we decided to move. And then now we are in the canning room, pantry area, all the shelves for any type of storage and any type of food storage we could have ever wanted. And we don't have this space quite the same at the new house. And this was an area that when I saw this house, this was something that was like really appealing because being able to store our own food from the farm is a necessity. And that's something that we're going to have to make sure that we have at the next house in some way, shape, or form. So here's the front of the house. We didn't get around to painting it, but the color kind of grew on me a little bit. Over in the front over there, you can kind of see the busy road and some of the scenery that we maybe didn't enjoy so much. And you can hear the road right now. It's kind of foggy out, not really giving you a full idea of the distance of things. Over behind us here, we turn this way. There are all the garden spaces over there. Main garden now.
Most of the garden spaces.
Most of them. And the chicken area.
Hayfield beyond that we put a lot of time and effort into.
So much time and effort, and that field's probably going to go dry. Yeah.
Here's one of the things that you don't think about when you start putting your house together is we instantly put an orchard in and spent, I don't know, $1,000 on trees easily. And 3 years later, we're starting to get fruit off them and we're going to move. So that sucks.
So starting all over, but that's a lot of money and effort, and just the fencing alone, that's a lot of money and time and all of that. Yeah, irrigation. So yeah, there's that. Almost set up, but not quite.
Start over again.
Start over. Like we were saying, we do have quite a few outbuildings on this property. Also, we have lots of different yards for the different dogs, and that is really nice to have. We don't have it the same way at the new place yet. So that building over there, that is the garage for tools and putting cars in and woodworking and things like that. This big shop back here, that one right back there, that is what we call the machine shed. It's a drive-through barn. It has seen better days, but it is still a good storage area, and you can park stuff in there. And just having a roof over various things, that's really nice to have. This building right here, right behind John, that is just a parking garage where we park our vehicles in and we can store stuff. Yet again, another place to just put things. And then behind me over here, we have another just storage area. So we would park a vehicle in that portion. And then down there, that was a very nice wood storage area for all of our firewood. And that room right there in the middle, that was kind of a storage area. And we were actually converting that into a little like cabin. It has some really cool wood inside of it. And the new owners already put stuff in there, so I'm not going to show you inside of it, but it was a nice extra little storage building. So right here, this is inside of that big machine shed, as we called it, and look at all the room in here. No, it is not organized. Yes, it is a big mess right now. We are in the middle of moving and stuff is everywhere. So I just wanted to show you how much space is in here. And when you have a farm, you need space for all of the things to make it possible to grow all the things that you're trying to grow and store them, and just tools and equipment. It's a lot of storage. I'm going to take you to the final area. So this last little area over here, this is a corral. And this corral we did put in for horses. And you can see it back there behind me now. It's just a lean-to with a nice little corral area. All of those poles my husband went and got from up in the mountains, except for the ones that are concreted in. And that's just another nice addition that we put on this property to get it to the point where it could be more of a functional farm. And now we are just restarting on this somewhere else. Here's a look at the big hayfield that we spent so much time, effort, energy, and money on. And it's probably gonna go dry, which is kind of sad after you spend so much effort, and didn't really help the sale of our house, but it was fun, I guess. That was a tour of our last farmhouse. We have loved this house, as you can probably tell from this video, and the renovations have been very fun. Now, at our next place, we have renovations over there and a lot of other things to just kind of get the next property up to where we almost had this one up to for it to be a really functional farm. Like, we need to have a cold room for storing produce for farmers market. We need to have a root cellar over there. We need to have storage for all of that food. Inside of the house would be nice somewhere. There's just a lot of things to get set up. We kind of ended up flipping this house and pretty much doubling what we paid for it, but the market changed so much. So we don't really know if that's the reason, but I don't think we could have sold this house for what we sold it for without having done all of those improvements that we did. And we also did a lot of improvements outside that the new homeowners probably don't care about, because gardening's not really their main focus, which, you know, we didn't know we would be moving because we were setting this place up. So just something to, I don't know, keep in mind that we spent money elsewhere too, and we're not probably going to see any return from that portion of what we did here. If you want to see a little bit more about what we have in the future and what we're going to create in the future.
We do have a farm tour coming. If you want to check it out, if you want to check out this new property, here's some of our plans for it, see what we're going to be doing, because we are expanding and we are going to be growing a lot of produce this year. It's going to be really exciting. So if you want to check that out, please subscribe to our channel.